movie opens in a secluded villa where we see a woman named Vera being held captive inside a locked room. The man keeping her there is Robert Ledgard, a brilliant but deeply disturbed plastic surgeon. Every night before going to sleep, he watches her through a monitor beside his bed. For years, Robert has been developing a synthetic skin that is burn-resistant and can withstand against insect bites. He calls it Gal, named after his late wife. He presents his research at medical conferences, careful about how much he reveals. During another conference, a senior scientist presses him about his methodology and discovers that Robert has been combining pig and human cells in a practice that is entirely illegal. He orders Robert to shut the research down immediately and threatens to report him to the scientific community. Later, Robert returns home and checks on Vera through the monitor. After watching her for some time, he enters her room and discovers that she has attempted to take her own life. Robert immediately rushes her to his lab and patches her wounds. She quietly asks him how long this will last, but Robert doesn't answer her question, and that silence tells her everything. Robert lives in the villa with his longtime housekeeper, Marilia, who knows everything Robert has kept secret. Each morning, she brings Robert blood samples from live animals for his research. He repeatedly tests the artificial skin by burning it and exposing it to insects, and the skin holds up every time. Marilia warns Robert that Vera's resemblance to his late wife will eventually become a problem and urges him to get rid of her, but Robert says he's in no rush. Instead, he orders the remaining servants to be dismissed so Vera can stay hidden even longer. Right after the servants leave, a man wearing a tiger costume arrives at the gate. Marilia recognizes him as her son, Zika, after showing her the mark on his skin. Zika claims he misses her after not seeing each other in 10 years and begs her to let him in. Marilia eventually agrees and gives him food, but while they are watching television, a news report reveals that Zika is one of the suspects in a recent bank robbery. Zika casually admits it and blames his partner for leaving the CCTV cameras on. Afterward, he convinces Marilia to let him stay for a few more days, but as soon as he notices Vera on the surveillance monitor, everything changes. Realizing the danger, Marilia pulls out a gun and warns him to stay away from her, but Zika overpowers her during the struggle and the gun goes off. Vera hears the gunshot and tries to contact Marilia through the intercom, unaware that Marilia has already been tied to a chair. Zika searches the house until he reaches Vera's door. Hearing footsteps outside, Vera briefly believes someone has come to rescue her, but she is wrong. As Zika forces himself on Vera, he's surprised to see her alive, and it turns out Vera looks exactly like Gal. Moments later, Robert arrives home and sees everything unfolding on the monitor. He immediately rushes upstairs and shoots Zika dead inside Vera's room. Later, while cleaning the room, Marilia finally tells Vera the truth she kept hidden for years. She reveals that Zika and Robert were actually half-brothers, though Robert never knew it. Zika was fathered by one of Marilia's co-workers, while Robert was the biological son of Mr. Ledgard, Marilia's former employer. In secret, Marilia is actually Robert's real mother. Vera asks why Zika reacted so strangely when he saw her. Marilia explains that she looks exactly like Gal, Robert's late wife, and begins telling her the story. Years earlier, Robert lived happily with Gal and their daughter, Norma, until Zika arrived and stayed in the family's outbuilding. Zika and Gal eventually fell in love and ran away together, but their car crashed, leaving Gal trapped inside the burning vehicle while Zika escaped. Robert found Gal barely alive with her face horribly burned. He brought her home, removed every mirror from the house, and cared for her for months, but her face could never be restored. One day, after accidentally seeing her reflection in a window, Gal was horrified and jumped to her death. Norma witnessed everything and was left deeply traumatized. Later that night, Vera and Robert try to be intimate. However, Vera claims Zika had hurt her badly, so Robert stops. The two then cuddle together and soon fall asleep. In his sleep, Robert dreams about his daughter's demise. The scene goes back 6 years ago where Norma is in a fragile state, still recovering from her mother's death. One evening, Robert takes her to a party, but shortly after she disappears. As he searches for her, he passes a young man riding away on a bike in a hurry and eventually finds Norma unconscious near a tree. When she wakes up, she begins to scream as if Robert had abused her. Robert then suddenly wakes up drenched in sweat. At the same time, Vera dreams about a man named Vicente who works in his mother's boutique. Vicente has a crush on Cristina, who also works at the shop and is later revealed to be a lesbian. He also attends the same party Robert saw in his vision. Norma and Vicente see each other at the party and become attracted to each other. They go outside with Vicente's friends, and in the garden, Norma reveals she takes strong medication for psychosis, while Vicente admits he is high on ecstasy. Norma removes her heels and jacket, and Vicente takes advantage of her in the moment, but she soon suffers an anxiety attack and starts screaming. She bites Vicente's hand when he tries to calm her, so he hits her face, causing her to lose consciousness. Vicente then leaves on his bike after fixing her clothes, leaving her in the state in which Robert later discovers her. Norma never recovered from that night. She was placed in a psychiatric facility where she refused to recognize Robert as her father and would only interact with female nurses. Not long after, Norma takes her own life the same way her mother did. One night, Vicente goes out for a bike ride but is soon followed by Robert, who has been waiting for a chance to take revenge. After chasing him through the woods, Robert crashes Vicente's bike and abducts him. Afterward, a police officer informs Vicente's mother that her son's broken bike was found near a cliff and adds that Vicente may have fallen off and been washed away by the sea. However, she refuses to believe it and insists that her son is still alive. Elsewhere, Robert has been torturing Vicente by keeping him chained and depriving him of food and water. Sometime later, Robert cleans Vicente, gives him food, and moves him to a better place. He prepares Vicente for his experiment by shaving him and taking him to the operating room. He invites other doctors and creates a falsified consent form to perform a vaginoplasty, revealing his plan to transform Vicente into a woman. The surgery is successfully carried out, and Vicente wakes up to discover he is no longer a man. While he examines himself in the mirror, Robert arrives and gives him medical dilators of different sizes to slowly enlarge his newly operated private organ. Robert monitors him closely during recovery and performs regular checkups. He reveals that Vicente was abducted as punishment for what he did to his daughter, something Vicente deeply regrets. With no other choice, Vicente complies with everything Robert demands, hoping that one day he will be released. Robert continues altering Vicente with the synthetic skin he developed from combining animal and human cells. The result is a breakthrough. Not only it's smooth and delicate, but also resistant to burns and has no odor, protecting him from mosquito bites. Afterward, Robert orders Vicente to wear a tight-fitting corset every day so his body shape would be closer to that of a woman. While helping Vicente with his clothes, Vicente begins to have thoughts of escape. He attacks Robert and tries to escape using the key he snatched from Robert's pocket, only to find out it's all in vain. The front door has been fitted with a remote-controlled lock that Robert controls. Seeing that escape is impossible, Vicente attempts to take his own life, but Robert revives him using his surgical skills. Afterward, Robert confines him in a room and occasionally sends him some skirts, but Vicente tears them, venting his resentment and hatred towards Robert. Robert begins conditioning him daily, with sedatives added to his food by Marisa. Vicente slowly becomes compliant. He stops resisting and begins to accept the makeup Robert gives him. Seeing Vicente's behavior improve, Robert rewards him with a television. Every day, he sits in the room and begins practicing yoga, seemingly starting to accept the changes as he is gradually turned into Vera. Back in the present, everything we've seen since the beginning of the film falls into place. Sometime later, Robert has started giving Vera more freedom inside the house, even allowing her to accompany Marisa on a shopping trip. Marisa grows uneasy and warns him that he's making a mistake, but Robert ignores her. One day, one of Robert's colleagues arrives at the villa with a newspaper showing Vicente's photo among the missing persons. He recognizes the face as he's one of the surgeons involved in the procedure and accuses Robert of forging consent. Vera steps in and calmly claims she agreed to everything because she wanted to become a woman. The man leaves afterward, and Robert thanks her for saving him. That night, while the two are having a good time, Vera excuses herself, saying she left a lubricating cream in her purse downstairs. However, she seems to have other intentions as she takes a gun from a drawer and pauses at a photograph of her former self. Later, she goes back upstairs and points the gun at Robert and admits that she lied about falling in love with him before pulling the trigger. Marisa hears the gunshot and rushes upstairs, but meets the same fate. The next morning, Vera walks into town and enters the boutique where Vicente once worked. Christina, a former colleague, doesn't recognize her at first. Moments later, Vera reveals everything that happened to her, and Christina breaks down in tears after hearing it. To prove she's Vicente, Vera shows her the dress she's wearing that Vicente wanted her to wear to a party 6 years ago. The movie ends as her mother approaches, and Vera finally reveals that she is her lost son, Vicente. Thanks for watching, subscribe for more, and do me a favor by leaving a like below.